Well, slapty diddly do, my G's. How are you guys all doing? Hope you're doing wonderful. Today we're going to be making some ninja skills serum sounds, right? It's going to be fast and unpredictable like a ninja in the night. And here is the ninja skills lead with a beat. Brace yourself. So it's got a lot of fast movements and also some unpredictable movements to it as well. Which I think just fit really nicely around that beat, wouldn't you say? If you really zone into the timings, it's very nice timing there. So the Ninja Skills lead, let's recreate it from scratch. We've used a little bit of the effects section, of course. We've used only 2 oscillators, and we've used a bit of noise. We've used 1 filter, and for the LFOs, we've used 2. We've used 1 as the main movement, and we've used the second one to change the speed of the main movement. All right. So let's start off with the first oscillator here, and this is oscillator A with a sine wave at -2 on the octaves and with unison on. Okay, let's go ahead and straight away get our oscillator B in here. Okay, so this one is the gremlin. It's at -1. And what's creating the main movement, as you see here, it's just the wavetable position of the oscillator B. But this is also going via the FM into oscillator A via this PDB section here. About 42%. So you get the sound of the gremlin coming out of the level of the actual oscillator B here. So I've not turned the level off to use it as only a carrier. You have actually the sound of oscillator B. Plus you have the sound of oscillator A, which has been modified by the FM from oscillator B, right? And we can quickly talk about the LFOs as well while we're here. So the LFO, if I for example, I can mute the second LFO, which is the one that's controlling the rate. So it's at 31%. If I take that off, so the first LFO, it's just a saw down with a little bit of an attack at the start, and the rate is set to 1/4T, so triplets. Okay. I've turned on the triplets, I've turned on the dot down here, so that when I add this rate back on, this is LFO2 coming into LFO1 and modulating the rate. Because I've turned the triplets and the dots on, when the rate now turns up, it goes through more stages. It doesn't skip straight to the next rate and have this big kind of gap between the speeds. So with the triplet and the dot on, there's like more levels for it to go. So it feels a bit smoother as it gets faster. You could obviously do that with the hertz as well, to have take it off the grid and use the actual hertz, the frequency, to have the most smoothest sound, the most smoothest modulation in speed. But then you'd have to do everything by ear, you know. And I wanted the rhythm to repeat always on the bar, so that's why I did everything sort of via the BPM here for the LFO2 as well. So the LFO2 is set to 2 bars, and it basically gets a little bit faster for 1 bar, then comes back down again, and then also does the same thing again, but not quite as high the second time round. Okay. You might notice in my MIDI, there's actually a couple of notes that change. So there's a little towards the end here. There's that goes up from E up to A, and then also halfway through this second part, it goes up to an F sharp. And it's on the glide and legato, but I've turned the glide basically off, so the note transition happens almost instantly. It just felt a bit better for this sound. But back to the patch then. Yeah, so like I said, we've got that LFO2 modulating the speed, the rate of LFO1, right? And the LFO1, I've used the smoothing a bit just to taste. As you can see, it's smoothed out the LFO. So it's just, yeah, it messes with the timing a little bit because it's slightly different now to what I originally drew, you know? But yeah, the smoothing, you know, everything here is very tightly timed by ear. So the smoothing helped me refine that a little bit more. We've got a couple more things to do on here before we go over to the effects section. Namely, the noise has to come in. And so the noise, the Geiger counter here, the level is actually off. The count is all the way up. The stereo is all the way up. And that's actually going into the oscillator B via the FM, the PD noise, okay? And yeah, that basically, again, remember that's going into oscillator A. So the FM, the oscillator B has this noise put into it, and then it also goes into oscillator A. So you've got this sort of transfer of the noise through the frequency modulation as well, you know? So it sounds different to if you would have the level just up on the noise, because it's essentially following the rhythm of the oscillator B, which is sort of all being created by the wavetable position, remember? But the noise is blended in with that, with this oscillator, which is moving with its wavetable position, so that you have the noise going in line with everything else, basically. There's a nice little salt and pepper on top. That's why I like to do it that way around, you know, to keep everything in line. Then I've used the reverb. Yeah, I've used the reverb filter, which is something I haven't used so much, but it's quite crazy, and it really changes the sound so much. No movement on it. The cutoff's just right in the middle. A bit of drive, a little bit of resonance, of course, and it's only actually routing from oscillator A. So B is actually going straight out to the effects section without filtering, but the our frequency modulated sine wave, which is the stereo on it, that's all being filtered by the reverb filter, and it just put a really nice tone on the sound. Yeah, I really just I like that tone a lot. That is what gave this sound its main character, really, the reverb filter. So great stuff. So then just enhancing the sound one stage at a time. Firstly with a low-high splitter using some distortion, and I've used the diode 2, and it's actually tracked to the LFO as well on the mix. So it's actually going from 0 up to 100 on the diode. You can see how it's moving in line with the LFO, and that of course, yeah, that of course makes it super dynamic, you know, so that it's really, yeah, really intensifies the dynamic rhythm that we've set up with the LFO1 already, you know. Next, the filter, similar kind of thing, putting that LFO1 on the filter cutoff, but this is it's a little more subtle, but it does actually beef up the whole low end of the sound and give it some extra shaping as well, because I'm sort of moving around the low frequencies all the way down from 22 up to almost 500 really quickly in line with the movement. So you've got this kind of like little boosted EQ point that's moving along with everything. A little bit of drive on that. Then we've got a little bit of convolver. My favourite preset still on here, the digital gated. It's got a great little room sound. Then we do a bit of hyperdimension, and the mix is up at 21%. Only using the dimension, I should say, not the hyper. So just a little bit of a stereo, extra stereo harmonics. Then a bit of flanging. This is really low, 4%. That's just sort of to satisfy my urge of using the flanger on everything that I do. The reason I like to use the flanger on everything that I do is because on a slow kind of rate, it puts this like change in the pitch into the sound that's quite subtle. but it makes it feel like every part of the sound is slightly different. So it's kind of like running it through a tape, something like that. That's how I imagine it. Anyway, equalizer next. Just some little mastering kind of boosts here. A little mastering boost at 220 hertz. Just filling out the gaps, filling out the holes. Just looked like you had this kind of nice big bump here around 400, and just below it around 200 there's a bit of a dip. So I sort of just leveled it out there by bringing that up. Obviously, not just because it looked like I needed to do it, but because it also sounded better. And then finally, another little EQ. This one with a high shelf boost. But I thought I'd do what I used to do on Vital and do like a high shelf boost movement in line with the rhythm, in line with the LFO. So another further refinement of the already set up groove that we've got going. So actually enhancing that dynamic movement even further with that little brightness boost on the LFO, and it only goes up at maybe a dB or 1.5 dB. It's quite subtle, but it was a final finishing touch that gave it a really small amount, a touch of brightness, but also a touch of dynamism in the high end as well. I get really in depth with the last little 3% of the sound to try and make it like, so I'm really happy with the sound quality, But yeah, that's basically the Ninja Skills lead. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I shall probably be uploading this patch on my Patreon. I've recently uploading a lot of presets and samples exclusive to Patreon, so come along and join on there if you want to support the channel and get some free sounds. That's to all the paid members, but you can join already from just $1 a month or €1 a month or something, and you'll be able to download stuff. Also, I'll also remind you that I have production lessons available. You can book me as your production mentor via the links down below. Also, you can email me for mixing and mastering work. I'll send you my details, price details and everything via email once I've heard that your track is ready to be mastered. And last but not least, check out my Serum preset pack, Rebirth, plus Vital preset packs and Faceplant preset packs on my website, all linked down below. All right, that's it from me today. More from me very soon. Much love.